I've
Back in
seen,
the day.
I've seen your past YouTube's lives. I see you brushing. So I was just thinking, that's your intro.
You need the intro video when I can just groom.
Right. And then I thought, well, I can't groom because I don't have a beard and I don't have hair. So,
You can massage coconut oil.
right. I got coconut oil. Maybe I might start doing that. Start my intro, rubbing some coconut oil on my head.
So listen, for people who come by all the time, they know who you are, but tell them who you are, because I want to show them a little bit of what you do. Matter of fact, I'm going to show them your Patreon while you introduce yourself. Hold on. Go ahead. Start.
Okay. So I'm Renee Adolphi, aka Prandata Prim. Prandata Prim means go with the flow of love and life. So I am a tantric therapist, and I work with sexuality, empowering men and women, empowering couples to own your pleasure, own your sexuality without any shame, without any guilt. So I love making people feel pleasure, helping people to find their pleasure, and it brings me pleasure. So that's what I do.
And I'm going to type in the comments, check out her Patreon. Boom.
Yes, Patreon at Prandata Prim. So
what's different on Patreon versus your YouTube?
So on Patreon, I have exclusively Sunday self-explorations where I really guide people through how to self-explore, how to self-please. And when I say self-explore, it's really another way of talking about masturbation, but it goes beyond that, like really getting down.
She just can't talk about on regular YouTube, people.
Yeah,
it's kind of like I have my Patreon. I talk about some business things and technical details of money. She talks about technical details of your insides that you just can't talk about on regular YouTube.
Right.
Yeah, you just can't. Oh, you know what? Before I even forget, let me show them your regular YouTube. Let's see. So they can check that out too when we get going.
Mm-hmm. Yes, on my YouTube, I do have lives as well. This month we're in Masturbation Month, so I'm doing regular episodes on masturbation. Get you comfortable with learning how to really, really masturbate and just talk about different things. So it's fun. Yes, that is my YouTube page.
Place to start. There we go. Boom. Reigning woman, love you, miss you. I know you've been busy. I don't get to see you as much as we'd like, but you're always welcome here. She's somebody who's always supported the team, and I support hers. Let me know when it's a good time to start going back to your page, because I know you got some upgrades going. But
hello, Reigning Woman. I love your name, by the way. When I saw her come on, I was like, I love that name.
And my buddy Sid, you know what? Sid is going to be coming to Brazil at some point. We've been practicing our Portuguese together. He's going to come and hang out with us one day. He's a good guy.
Awesome. You will love Brazil, Sid. It's amazing here. I've been here 10 years.
Yeah, he's been back and forth, but he knows the game.
Oh, but he's been here.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk to you because I sent you an article. And the article talked about a concept that I felt like we kind of overlooked, because at least for me and a lot of the people that I'm with, we've been talking about this quarantine almost completely in terms of money. The money is costing me. The money my clients aren't making. And oh, wow, that's one hell of a name.
Sam, I am. Eu moro no Rio.
You moro no São Paulo. But hey, Jeffrey, how you doing, brother? So here's what's been coming up, though. This is the part that's really been getting on a lot of people. We haven't, at least
DMV is in the house. I'm sorry. I last lived in the DMV, Montgomery Village, Maryland. What's up, Jeffrey? Okay.
Well, is there anybody who hasn't been to the DMV area?
Huh?
Is there anybody who hasn't lived in the DMV area?
Right?
So
Hey, Shyla. Okay, go ahead.
what I'm saying is that we've been talking so heavy about the money in the business. Then there was this article that popped up, and the article said something interesting. It said, what we aren't, we can either say we aren't, or maybe we're choosing not to, about how this quarantine thing has started dealing with people's sex lives, and about how folks who are regular, ordinary 9-to-5 people who ordinarily follow the rules of life and of society and all those other good things are in this awkward situation right now where for the very first time they're being told you can't leave home and you're going to be in self-isolation, period. You're not going to be around anybody else. You're not going to, because sex is just sex. No, sex, how does that saying go? Sex is sex, power is power, and money is money, except sex, because I forgot how it goes. But in any case, how are we dealing with a lot of those internal frustrations from men and women who could deal with having to deal with the frustration of financial hardship, of the social distancing, but then being told you got to sit alone at home, you can't go out and you can't have sex with anyone because that would require you leaving your home. And we've seen people risk a lot more for a lot less sex. We got to be honest enough to say, I've seen good men who wouldn't break under normal situations start to make calculated trips. Like how is your circle dealing with this?
Yeah, so it's funny because I actually have an interesting story. So people around here, I tell you, so I'm a psychotherapist and I'm a tantric therapist, right? For those who don't know. And I have a lot of my clients who have been telling me that, yeah, they had a guy come over. Like one lady was like, I had a guy come over and I was like, well, what did you do to make sure that, you're both safe? And she was like, well, I asked him tons of questions and he said he's been following the quarantine and had him come over and he'd take a shower. So I have a lot of people saying that they, they're breaking the quarantine and they're going over, taking a shower before, as soon as they get into the house, wiping up with alcohol, and so it's just like, wow, people are, they're needing it. And I've had guys trying to get me to come over. I live in a Buddhist temple, so ain't nobody coming over here. But they've been trying to get me to come over, and I'm like, it ain't worth it. It's not worth it, risky, because a lot of times you just don't know. Like, I feel like I'm healthy and I'm doing a lot of stuff, but I also live with people, and so I would feel horrible if I left to go just have sex and then I came back and I got it and then I gave it to them and then one of them died. Like, I would feel bad. And so for me, it's not about me. For me, it's about making sure that I'm being responsible and the people around me are okay, So most of the friends that I know, from what I hear, it seems like they're kind of sticking to this quarantine and not going out and risking it. It's more of my clients that I'm hearing things from, and people around me that's not within my close friendship kind of network. Yeah.
So now here's the big question. We know that people who are honest in every other aspect of their life still lie about sex. We lie about the kind of sex we want. We lie about the people who we're having sex with. And when I say people, this is one of those times I'm not getting on women's case. I'm not getting on men's case. I'm saying in general, sex is such a fundamental part of who we are. People have no problem lying about it. Is it possible that everyone's telling themselves, doing that human thing that says, it's okay if I fudge the truth just this one time?
Oh, for sure. For sure. Like, I feel like people would, I feel like some of my friends wouldn't say anything because they'd be afraid of getting judged or whatever. So yeah, I mean, people could be, who knows? Yeah, I don't put it past them. But one of the things that I do know as a tantric therapist is that orgasm is so important. So let's take a minute and go beyond the sex, right? What we do need is orgasm. It helps to reduce anxiety. And right now, so many people are stressed out. They're depressed. They're anxious. They're feeling bad. And so orgasms will help with that. And so I think that's the thing why people are also touch deprived, skin hunger. So it's not even just about the sex. It's about the sex, but it's also needing to be touched, to be felt, to connect with someone. And so they're going out and they're risking it, but that's what they're needing in that moment, I'm not saying whether it's good or bad. I'm not going to judge. Everybody has to make their own choices, do what they need to do, but that's what they need. And so for me, I tell people masturbate, and it's May, masturbation month, masturbate. Take advantage. You can still have those orgasms, increase those endorphins, the oxytocin levels so that you can feel good, feel better, feel happy, and still have that effect of what you're needing.
But here's the problem. And it may be different for women. I'm not a woman, and I don't think you speak for all women any more than I speak for all men. There is a fundamental difference and a quality of life issue that comes from having sex with a woman. Being able to say to yourself that there is someone who looks at me and says, I'm going to give all of myself to you. Because you're right, sex is sex, but it's also more than sex. Sex is also the excitement of the buildup. Sex is also the afterwards when you're, I don't know, some people, I have friends who smoke that say they smoke. I have some friends that say they eat chocolate. But there's that bonding afterwards, that human interaction that people aren't getting, because we know that men, first of all, we know that men don't get any physical real contact. Men, generally speaking, we don't get touched by anybody other than our wives and mothers, generally speaking. We don't have that thing where we are constantly hugging. Now, in different areas, like, for example, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, we constantly hug each other. We're constantly good jobbing each other. But during our average day, right, sometimes that woman that we are intimate with is the only person we're sharing any level of intimacy with. And that's taken away. I don't know if that a...
Well, I think that would make it harder for men because you have more of what I talked about, that touch deprivation, that skin hunger. And so for man, needing that even more so, they're going to want to take a risk to go have sex. And, and again, I can't talk for all men. But when hearing you say that, it makes sense that they might want to have and need to have that physical touch, that sex,
Well, one of the things that you just said, you're right. You don't speak for men, but there is a fundamental difference. As unsocially acceptable it is to discuss, there is a fundamental difference in the sex drive of men and the sex drive of women. Men have a ruthless testosterone drive that's going to be on whether you want it or not. It has nothing to do with how we feel. It has nothing to do with our emotions. There's no way to make it stop. There's no way to tell it for good reasons to go on hold. When men find themselves in that situation where they need sex, we have absolutely no way to, what's the phrase, to derail that train. And so it puts men in a very awkward position.
Right. Whereas women, we can be more, we're very much in our heads. So we think a lot. So we think things through. We think about the consequences. So, for us, like for me, I mean, yeah, there's plenty of times I want sex. I want to go out and have, but I pull out my hands and I pull out my toys, and because I'm like, it's not worth it. It's not worth the risk, so, and I think about that, and I'm not, going off of physical need, so.
Well, let me paint a picture for you. I've done some amateur combat, some amateur kickboxing, not very good at it. Some amateur Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments. I've won a couple of matches here and there, a couple of gold medals, a couple of silver. One of the things that you learn, particularly with, how would I put it? Particularly with sports, fighters traditionally have a few rituals they go through. Some of those rituals last for days, some of them last for months. One of the things that we have is something called a fight camp, meaning generally speaking, the guy and his coaches and his trainers go, you see it in the movies all the time. Rocky goes out into the middle of the wilderness, or, the guy in Asia moves off into the mountain and meditates in the snow before the big fight. But the secondary effect of that isolation is men become extraordinarily and quantifiably more aggressive when they do not get to have sex. And that's not a maybe thing. That's something that's been measured and diagnosed in every culture. What happens when we have these situations where we have months and months of men who are angry, deprived financially, deprived sexually, and told just sit there and deal with it?
Oof.
Let me back up for a second. Let me back up. Before I even go that far, did I say anything that you fundamentally disagree with? Do you want to give me any feedback on it?
No. You didn't. You didn't. Yeah. You did not say anything that I fundamentally disagree with.
How are we going to deal with that?
Yeah. And that's a great question. How do you deal with that? Because this is the thing, like this quarantine is going to be going on for some time. I mean, in the States now, they are starting to lift it, but I believe that there's going to be a whole nother round of cases hit, and they're going to have to go back and put people back in quarantine again. Here in Brazil, they're talking about, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm hearing all these different things, but they're talking about going onto lockdown, which is even a stricter quarantine here in Rio. They did that already in Salvador. So it's something that I think people are going to have to, men and people are going to have to figure out what are they going to do? Are they going to continue to break this quarantine and risk it and have sex? Or not? I mean, I personally think that each individual is going to have to make the best choice that they can, based on the circumstances. It's not easy at all.
Because hold on a second. We got BK from the Rocky says sounds like people are becoming reckless for human interaction. I would say, are people becoming reckless? Yes. Are people unjustified? Are people doing something that you can look at them and say, what you did is a bad thing, that it is the social equivalent of going into a nursing home and coughing on old people?
Wow. Yeah. And it's not like, I feel like, so it's, if you think about, so this is an interesting thing. One of my favorite shows was Dexter. And I love Dexter.
Fill them in on Dexter though, because they might not catch it.
Huh?
You got to fill them in on Dexter.
I am. So Dexter, he's a cop, but he's a serial killer. And he's a serial killer who would go out and kill the bad guys. He would kill other serial killers. Now the thing is, I thought about this when I'm reading this comment. It's like you feel for him. I connected with him. And when you understand that he was born and he had this innate thing, this innate drive since a child to the need to kill, and his dad was a cop, saw that, and yes, it was a good show, Jeffrey, saw that and taught him how to do it and how to do it where he's using it for good, right? So you get to understand that there's a need. And you get to understand the importance of it. So the same thing, I don't like to judge and say that people are just going out doing whatever, not giving a damn, being reckless, whatever, because it's also understandable. But yes, like I feel like we all, and everyone is responsible for their decisions and what they do in life. I wish I could just say, don't go out, don't do this, but everybody has to choose. And I feel like I understand. I think what you're getting at, YusefWateef, is it's an understandable reason. And it's not that the person is evil or horrible and they're purposely going to do this because they want to kill somebody or hurt somebody. There's an innate need. There's a need. And it really is, it really is an important need. We need sex, men and women. And so women are a little different in essence from what, I described earlier, because, we have touch. We have other ways of connecting with other women. I was just talking to my friend today. I have a female friend who we'd walk down the street holding hands or arm in arm, and we're just friends. And, it's not a big deal. Women could do that, but men have this homophobic thing. Like, I need to be a man. I can't, and so men don't touch. They're not as touchy-feely as women are. Women, we have more leeway in that sense. So we can get different needs met different ways, So see that wheel turning in your head?
No, yeah. I mean, I agree with you. It's one. Oh, let me back up for a second. For the people watching right now, I don't know if this is your first time or if you come all the time, make sure you click the subscribe button. And I'm actually been doing this long enough to remember before I had to say click the bell too, but click the subscribe button. And we talk about three things here. We talk about money a lot because money is my favorite subject. It's actually my favorite thing. We talk about money, savings, staying away from debt, cryptocurrency, things like that. We talk about world travel a lot, not just Brazil where Renee and I live, but we also talk about world travel. I've lived in a bunch of countries. And how many countries have you lived in, Renee?
Oh my God. So someone had asked us on Facebook, how many countries have you lived for over 3 months? And my number was 21.
Yeah, I've lived in like 15 countries, and I lived there for about a year or two.
Uh-huh.
And we talk about a lot of those things, and we also talk about social issues like this. We talk about things that are important in a non-exploitative way. I have a lot of diverse guests from a lot of places. If you go back and look at the things that we've talked about. Let me back up. How many languages do you speak?
I speak English, obviously, Portuguese, Spanish, French, and Creole. French, okay. But my family from Italy, and I studied French in college.
Did your Spanish mess up your Portuguese?
Huh?
Did your Spanish mess up your Portuguese?
No, it actually helped because I lived in Argentina before Brazil, and so I became fluent in Spanish. And when I came here to Brazil, it helped me to be able to get Portuguese. And also, I studied Spanish all throughout school, but I studied French in college. So because of their Latin base, I think they all kind of help. But it can make it confusing too. But it helped. It helped me particularly. And like when I went to Italy, I figured out I can understand people talking in Italian. I couldn't speak it, but I could understand it because I could get the base. And I knew if I stayed in Italy for like 3-4 months, I would be speaking Italian.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, just going back to it, there was an article that I read. Let me find that article again. I know I shared it with you, but there was a hotel operator, a hotel front desk person. And I've kind of Googled around. Google is not necessarily the most accurate of metrics, but they had people that worked in hotels. And one of the things that these people kept saying over and over again is, I believe during the first 4 to 6 weeks, people were observing the quarantine. But right around that after a month mark, it went crazy. They said the dam broke. To use a terrible metaphor. And there was a limit to the point at which people could simply say, I'll just not have sex because that's not the smart thing to do. I mean, I can't speak for all men. I can tell you from the men's side, men who ordinarily are some of the fiercest, smartest creatures in the world have fucked up everything over sex. I mean, everybody from kings to the guy who digs graves at night. The one thing they have in common is you might put a gun to their head. They will never betray a friend. You could offer them a bag full of money. They would never be disrespectful to their company. But in the face of sex, I've seen hard men crumble.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen hard men crumble because it's one of those things that in the face of losing that, it's kind of like, and I don't know if this is a separate conversation. I look at something that I've read about. I don't claim to know it. If anybody wants to give me any insight into it, that's fine. The incel, the involuntary celibates, those guys who, for one reason or another, and we can talk about that another time, can't find women that find them attractive enough to have sex. And they talk about the frustration in life when such a basic human need can't be met voluntarily. That people don't look at you as someone who qualified to have sex with a woman voluntarily, not for money, not by force, but she looks at you and sees you away. Because when you take sex away from men, we do, whether it's, how would I put this? Whether it's by design, by nature of being unattractive, or be it a government fiat saying, hey, you don't get to go out anymore, we become extraordinarily dangerous and unpleasant when in the face of not being able to, we got a comment from Deborah Walker that not just men have that type of sexual desire. Some women have an uncontrollable desire. Physical human touch needs are viewed by some as essential as food and water. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think she
hit it on the nail.
She nailed it.
Mm-hmm.
I think she nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean, for some people, it really is. And some people only need to eat every now and then, and some people need to eat 5 meals a day. But it's kind of like one of my friends who came back from severe obesity. He said, Watt, if you were addicted to cocaine or heroin, it's actually easier to quit because you can just decide, I'm not going to be around people who do it. I'm not going to go places where they sell it. All I got to do is focus on staying busy, and I can stay away from drugs. With food and sex, you can't just say, I'm going to pretend they don't exist anymore.
Right.
And so how are we going to, as a society, deal with, here's what I see. This is an awful prediction. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope somebody in the comments or you can tell me what. Let me tell you why you're wrong. I predict that when the gates do open, that percentage of people who do make up the majority of people, that glut of people who did follow the rules, when those floodgates open, I hope people are using the same safe practices they were before. Because when you get a herd of people who've been denied everything and then the gates open, I mean, that's why a lot of people think that the infection rates will spike again no matter when we open the gates. No matter when the government says all quarantine is over, people are just going to rush like two armies. They're just going to crash into each other and spread everything all over again. And in the meantime, I'm curious to see how many babies are going to be traced back to the first month after quarantine ended.
Oh, there's going to be tons of babies coming out. 9 months to a year, there's going to be a bunch of babies coming out. Now, initially, I thought that after this, everybody was going to change. There's going to be a whole new world. But I'm like looking at it in the States. I was talking to my niece, and she has her birthday on the 25th. She's in the DMV, Virginia. She's having a boat party in DC. And I was like, what?
Wait, when?
On the 25th, next week. She's having a boat party for her birthday. And I was like, what? She was like,
you need to put on some rubber gloves and beat some sense into her.
Listen to this. So I said, y'all on quarantine? She said, no, they're loosening up and we can have up to 10 people. We can have gatherings with up to 10 people. And I was like, well, are y'all all going to be wearing masks and stuff? No, we don't have to wear masks. It's not mandatory. And I'm like, so then what happens if you get this or one of those 10 people have it and then you get it? Now, all 10 of y'all get it and you go back home
back to your families
and your parents die. Like, it's not just about thinking about you and what you want. We have to think about other people. And so anyway, my point to all of that is that, this quarantine is going to be over. People are going to go back to the way things were trying to be as normal. And it's just going to be horrible. So many more people are going to get it. And I'm just in a place right now because today I found out 4 people died this week. One of them I knew, and it was his mother-in-law that died today. And then it was a client of mine who told me of 3 people who, 3 of her friends, close friends, died within this past week to coronavirus. So I'm still kind of like, a little like, oh my God, this is real. Like this is happening, and I don't understand how they're letting loose these restrictions. And these people that died are not just old people. They're people with in their 40s. So, I've even heard cases of people in their 30s. So Shelly asked, Renee, how was living in Argentina as a brown Black human? Did you see many brown Black humans? If so, did you interact, and how was it? Sorry for my ignorance. It's not ignorance. So one of the things
Okay,
in
wait. Whoa. Okay, Shelly, this is not the Renee show. This is the YusefWateef show. So Renee have her own show, and she's going to go over that. So Shelly, have you subscribed to Renee's channel so that when she does this, I apologize, but I'm petty. This is all about me. That's why my name is on the front. So Renee, would you like to talk about your time in Argentina on your channel?
Yes, I could talk about my time in Argentina on my channel. So
Okay,
Shelly,
so
for you, and that's a great question. It really is. And I got so much to say about that. So much. So join me on my YouTube at Renee Adolphe, Renee Adolphe, Adolphe.
So here, why don't I put that right there?
Yeah, and Jeffrey saying Virginia policy is relaxed, and so is DC. That's like crazy.
Wow.
Thank you, Ati.
Oh, wait, look at what. Oh, Shelly, you didn't do anything wrong. It's okay. You did nothing wrong at all. BK, wow, I can't see Northern Virginia being relaxed with restrictions. The rest of Virginia, yes, but not Northern. I don't know the difference.
Yes. Because so there's a Northern Virginia, then you have all the Southern, where all the beach, whatever. Anyway, so Northern Virginia is relaxed. So relaxed. It's crazy. It's crazy. And DC is too. So Maryland might be as well. Well, he says that because Virginia tends to be the stricter of when you take the DMV area, DC, Maryland, Virginia tends to be always strict. Maryland and DC tends to be a lot less strict on different things. So yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so Shelly, join me. Go add me on, subscribe to my channel, and we'll talk about it. Add me on Facebook too. Same name.
How you doing? Zero the Infinite. Thanks for tuning in. And I hope everybody makes it a point to share this somewhere. Share it on your Facebook, or share it on your Twitter. Those things are critically important. That's how our channel has really, 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 really grown. But going back to it, I think that 9 months after quarantine, you're going to see a lot of little girls named Quarantina and a lot of little boys named Quarantino.
For sure.
But I just hope that people have that same level of caution, because what's happening is when people are making decisions under duress and stress, they make bad decisions. They start making decisions. They start making decisions that ordinarily they wouldn't. But if they've been holding off, and like in Brazil, we just had in Sao Paulo, Brazil, we just had a extension where at first it was supposed to be till the end of this month, and now they said what they're doing is they're creating a holiday, meaning every state everywhere in the world has holidays. Well, what they're doing is they're taking all the holidays that people would normally have and putting them in one block to keep people home even longer. And we've discussed every other area, but I'm actually going to put a call out to some of my friends in Brazil who work in the hotel industry and the motel industry, and I'm going to ask them, what has business been like for you? While I'm sure it's down, you can drive down the street and see, like I've been going to a supermarket in an Uber or something, and you can actually see some of them open, they got to be making a profit, right? BK from the Rockies said, agree with Renee, Virginia give you a fine for anything. They want your money.
That's why they're becoming less, they're more relaxed because they just want your money. But yeah.
Wow. Well, what I've seen is some of my friends who are in polyamorous relationships or any relationship where it's more than one, they've had to have, and shout out to everybody who understands or is learning about things like polyamory, everybody who understands or is learning about alternative relationships, everybody who's learning about or understands kink, everybody who understands or is learning about BDSM. Because the cool thing that kink teaches you, and a lot of people don't know this, it teaches you to have difficult conversations easily because you're having varsity level conversations. There have been people who have sat down where there may be a family arrangement with, 3 people, and they have to decide, are we staying together? Are we not? Does one of us have children? Does the fact that one person has children mean they're out? Does the fact that that person has children mean we all still stay? How does that work? Do we combine into one household? Do we split into other households? Because no matter what they want is a situation where no one is left out in the cold. And I don't know anybody who's come to that, who has been able to solve that riddle effectively. I don't know anybody who's come to the answer. That's the problem. There is no answer.
Yeah, there's no answer. So I have one lady on my live who's in a polyamorous relationship. And it was interesting because she lives with her husband and she has kids. And then she has a girlfriend. And so her girlfriend during this quarantine has still come over her house. And she's gone over to her girlfriend's house. And so is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know.
Somebody's got to get somewhere and stay there.
That's what my thinking is, right? I'm like, and I feel for these people who are polyamorous and then they're with one partner and they want to be with others. And then they're like, they can't. So how do they handle it? Are they like now dying? Do they have that need to also have another partner and be with their other partner? Or they just become satisfied, or what happens? I don't know. So, but like you said, you made a really good point about that, the whole communication. And I don't know if you know, but I'm actually going to be having a kink retreat, the Sacred Kink Retreat, Finding Spirituality in Your Sexuality.
Is that on your YouTube? Where would I find it? The link to it?
On my Facebook. I don't have it. I have it on my Facebook. But
you can share the screen, and I'll use the time while you're looking at that. When people are saying, "Well, YusefWateef, you seem to be okay. You can still afford your big bottles of water." Let me tell you what I do during quarantine, because a lot of people may not know this yet. With my career, I'm a writer, ghostwriter, editor. People hire me to do everything from edit their books to editing papers they have to write. Something that's heartbreaking is right now I have been doing a lot of business writing resumes for people, writing professional level resumes for people. And it has been something that kind of breaks my heart, but a lot of people realize something critical. They realize, just like you can say, hey, I don't need to be in my office all the time now. Your offices realize we don't need you all the time either.
Right.
And that's something that a lot of people have really come to grips with. As a matter of fact, I'll tell everybody, if you want to connect with me on my LinkedIn, that's fine too. I'm the same person everywhere, YusefWateef Thornton. Except if you find me on LinkedIn, don't look at my resume first. It's fun. It's an impressive resume, blah, blah, blah. I tell people skip all the way down to the part where it says recommendations. This is where other business professionals put their name out there and say, Wateef is who he claims to be. Wateef is legit. Wateef is someone who we can look at and say he's a good businessman. And that's what I pride myself on.
Right.
So I leave that there. Did you find your link yet?
I did. So is it on?
There it is. Wait.
Okay. So what I wanted to say is, and this is the reason why I decided to do this retreat in June, the Sacred Kink, because we're going to talk about communication. And you just made me think about this when you were talking about communication, just really being able to express what you're feeling, learning how to set intentions and express your needs, what you really want, and this is a time. Are you able to see this?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, so this is just a little bit of that. I wanted to share that since we talked about it, to just really help you in your intimacy life. And you can be single or in a relationship. You can come individually or with your partner. And we're really going to be talking about different ways to just really spice up the bedroom, things that you can do alone as well, because we're talking about sex right now, right? And how much there's a need and how much right now we're going crazy with not being able to have these different needs met. And so in this course, we're going to give ways for you and your partner to be able to, you know, communicate, express what you want, what you're needing, what you're feeling, and try different things. Being able to really just explore, because, you know, this is a good time. Like, we're in quarantine. Now's the time to explore, to understand what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what you like, you know, and try new things. So.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
do this. Can you pop the link to me? And what I will do is put the link in the comments section for anybody who wants to find you there.
Okay. And you know what? I'm sending you the link. And if anyone from here that's watching today wants to come, and I'll give you 15% discount if you say that you've seen. You know what? You know what? Let's do this. Do a screenshot of this screen right now, this live. Do a screenshot and tag us both on it. Tag YusefWateef and me. Or what do you think? Put it on Facebook, Instagram, or
Any place.
YouTube.
This is your party. Hey.
Yeah.
My whole thing, you already said it, so now you're committed. So
Yeah. So I'm trying to get creative with this, right? Do a screenshot. Let's smile right now. Let's smile. Let's do our pose. All right, do that screenshot. Tag us, send it, and if you're interested, send it to me on either YouTube, Renee Adolphi, Facebook, Renee Adolphi, Instagram, I'm at Prondata Prim, and I'll give you 15% discount. So yeah. So you know, this is a good time. It's really a good time just to do different things. I mean, right now, a lot of people are hurting. A lot of people are struggling, you know? So
it's just, I don't see a win. I don't see a way for us to deal with this. I mean, I would almost say it's easier for people to deal with this professionally and financially than to deal with this sexually. To be told that you've got to stay at home and no, you don't get to have sex with anybody by prescription. So it turns everybody into a teenager having sex behind the back barn. Everybody is going to figure, if I don't know when this is going to end, I'm going to have to sneak out.
right. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to end up doing. I mean, the longer this goes on, there's just no way. Like, if this is a quarantine for a year, 2 years, there's no way people are going to stay in. A lot of people are going to break it. A lot of people are going to break it. A lot of people. You know, I could see if it's 1, 2 months, 3 months, but if it goes on another year, the Spanish flu was what, 2 years? You know, so this might possibly go on for 2 years. Who knows? I'm hoping that it doesn't. Please, Lord, no. But if it does, people are going to be breaking it. People are going to be breaking it. People are just not used to, people are not used to being forced to do something, not having their freedom taken away, their perceived notion of freedom, because we don't really have a lot of freedom. You know, some of us have more freedom because we've chose to kind of live outside of the grid, off the grid, and not be in those conditions, like in the, you know, so like me, who's out here in Brazil, just kind of doing whatever. But and Wateef, you know, we chose to really have a free life, not worrying about what other people think, not caring, and being outside, off the grid, you know. I'm not in the system. At least I speak for me. You might be in a system somewhere, I don't know. But so anyway, you know, and then you got the whole need for touch, the need to provide for that sexual energy, that sexual food. So it's just hard. It's just hard. It's just hard. I think one of the things that we can do now is doing these different things, like these different courses, connecting, phone sex, masturbation, and you know, it's a short kind of fix. It helps for right now, but I don't know, like, you know, it doesn't give that immediate of
Could an answer be if two people, or however many people, 2, 3, 4, decided we don't know how long this is going to last, why don't we all just shack up together? That might be an answer of people going into a style of quarantine commitment.
Mm-hmm. And just hope they don't kill each other. They're going to find out about each other's personalities. But that might, and people have done that. I've read stories in the news about couples who had only been together a week or two and decided to shack up and be in a committed relationship just for this quarantine. So it's definitely an idea,
Yeah,
I think that's safer. It's definitely safer.
I've got some guys that come to me for different pieces of advice for different things, and we've been going off script a lot. As a matter of fact, hold on, I'll show you guys what I have. My Patreon account is where I deal with a lot of the issues that need finer points on them. Things like financial details, everything from Bitcoin to Forex to trading to life options to how to live in another country, how to get ready for another country. Here are some of the things that I do. Matter of fact, I'll put this in the chat. And I encourage, we've got a growing community here on the Patreon screen of people that I've been able to really work with. I won't bore everybody by reading through everything, but what I will ask is that you check that out. That has been a place where the things on YouTube are a lot more fun, but the things on Patreon are where the rubber meets the road. When people say, how do you do paperwork to live in another country long term? When people say, how do you manage your finances in a way that allows you to travel the world? When people say, how do you, have certain advantages in life? This is where I go through things in detail. And that's where that is. Matter of fact, let me put that in the chat. And let's see. Yeah, brother Nathan said sounds interesting. I think you might have been talking about the concept of people. Brother Nathan, are you talking about the concept of people shacking up together during quarantine? Is that something that you said sounds interesting? Is that what you're referring to? And also, if we go, hold on a second. Jeffrey said something that is kind of heartbreaking. Lots of domestic abuse, and I've seen.
Yeah. So domestic violence has gone up a lot. I've been hearing so many cases. I used to work in a crisis center in Montgomery County Crisis Center, and I still have colleagues there. And so many of them have been talking about women coming in who've been beaten. So domestic violence has increased tremendously here in Brazil as well. I'm also, so it's just, yeah, it's crazy. So you have to make sure if you're going to shack up with somebody you barely know, hopefully, it goes well.
Well, here's the thing. I don't believe that it's necessarily people you don't know. I don't think it's new relationships from what I've read and seen.
No, these are married people. I'm saying in relation to making that commitment with somebody you just been with a week or two. I'm going back to that you got to make sure
but you can do problem. Do you really know? One of my favorite lyrics is by a group called the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones. They were a ska band back when I was in college, and one of the lyrics says, "I'm not a coward, but I've never been tested, and if I was, I'd like to think I would pass." Now, here's the problem. It says, "I'm not a coward, I've just never been tested, and if I was, I'd like to think I would pass." What does that do? What does that say? It says everybody talks about what they would and wouldn't do in situations that they've never been in. I'm not ever going to condone violence towards anyone that didn't earn it, especially a spouse. What I will tell you is that everybody wants to believe that they're the ones who are different. They want to believe they're the one, there it is. I'm not a coward. I've just never been tested. I'd like to think that if I was, I would pass. Everybody wants to tell themselves what they would or wouldn't do under a brutally stressful situation. I'm saying we got to find out ways to deal with that stress. One of my friends posted something online, and it was a joke, but then I really thought about it. It said, how many people are dealing with the frustration of, I'm stuck in quarantine with the person I'm committed to, but not wanting to be with?
Wow. Wow. Can you imagine?
How many, she said, how many of you women, this is what she quoted, and this is ruthless. This is some cutthroat shit, what she said. She said, how many of you women out there are lusting after another man's husband right now?
Ouch.
How many of you women are lusting after another woman's husband during quarantine? I mean, yeah, mighty, mighty boss tones. Oh, and for the record, when we were talking earlier, he said, yes, that's what he was talking about. What Nathan said when he said sounds interesting.
Yeah.
But he meant, yeah, that concept of people saying, what if we have to create our own COVID style family of we're going to be together during this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired. This is hard. Like, this, of all the discussions that we've had, this is oh my goodness. Look at what Kudu just wrote.
I think because the thing is, there's so much uncertainty, and so it's draining. Like there's so many different emotions attached to this, and it's like we want to just be able to solve it. We want to be able to just say, do this, and this is it. This is all you need to do, and this is going to work. But we can't. We can't. And so that's what's hard, you know? And that's what's hard.
Look at what he wrote. Look at this nonsense.
His name, Kobe Gian. Kobe Gian. There's going to be a whole bunch of them names.
That's the thing.
Yeah. But we do know, one of the things that we do know is that orgasms help you to feel better. Even before all of this, there was tons of research, tons of studies that talked about orgasms helping to release oxytocin levels, increasing endorphins. So you feel good, you feel better. And so it's important. It's important to have orgasms 2-3 times a week, if not 7 times a week. And that'll help you feel better. It's hard to not kind of wig out on a daily basis. Very frustrating. It really is. It really is. So one of the things that's helped me, and one of the things that I have given to my clients, is breath work. And so it's really important, like when you feel yourself, and it's important before you get to the point where you're about to wig out, you know, it's like, I can't take it anymore. Give yourself, okay, on a scale of 0 to 10. 10 is you're wigging out and you're like, I can't take it anymore. You just want to break something, or you just want, you know, whatever it is. And then a 0. When you get to 1 or 2, met Kudu Juice, met Renee and Ria. Sorry, I got distracted. So that when you're at like 1 or 2, start breathing, start focusing and coming back to your breath, taking slow, deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. You cannot it's physically impossible for you to be stressed out, anxious while you're doing deep breaths. And you're going to notice that you start to relax even more. And that's one little thing that can help you. So just kind of breathing, relaxing, helping. And, you know, one of the things that I heard a while back ago that I think is great, this too shall pass. And it's so true. This too shall pass. And it's hard. We're going through a difficult time, but It will also pass.
Hey, Shiloh, I apologize if I didn't get a chance to say hi to you earlier. I hope you're still with us. Oh, and by the way, Renee, this is what Kudoju said. This is Sid.
So you met me a year ago? Where? I take it in the
public.
I know, right? What were we doing when we met?
I might know what you're saying. Let's do this. Let's log off. I want to say thank you to everybody, and I hope everybody got something out of this. I think we came up with more questions than answered, but at least we got a chance to talk about it. I appreciate Renee coming by with her wisdom. She's a lot calmer than I am.
Just a little bit, just a little bit calmer than you, not much.
All right. Well, listen, I hope everybody has a good night. Please be safe no matter what you do. You know, it's like everything else. We got to figure out how much of a risk we're willing to take and why. Make good decisions. Nobody can make that decision for you, and nobody's going to be there when it's game time, and you have to figure out, okay, how far am I willing to go for this? Just remember, sometimes it's not just you. Sometimes it's everybody around you. It's all the people that should have been with you that you got to worry about. So,
yeah. Let me say something
you want to sign off with.
Well, just real quick with Kudoju said, send me a message because I want to remember how we met. So send me a message. All right, you got my information up here, and remind me, please. I'm sorry that I'm not remembering, but remind me. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you for having me. This was fun. I had a great time. Is this my second or third time on your show?
I don't know. Probably more than that. Because sometimes you just drop in.
I'm always hard to get. You be trying, not just you, people. And I tell you, I got so much going on. I'm probably one of the busiest people you ever met. And sometimes I'll be like, why am I so busy? Like, what am I doing? I need a manager. I need an assistant. I need a couple
road manager.
Yes. So anyway, but this was great. I loved it as always. Thank you for keep thinking about me and inviting me back. Continue to invite me back. All right, guys.
Have a good night.
For commenting and sharing.
Bye-bye, everybody. And we